John Elway's watching. Hey everyone, welcome to What's the Tea After Dark. It's the Caucus Hangover. It's pre-Super Bowl. What's the Tea is our podcast where we talk about what's happening in politics, what's happening in Nevada, and what is happening with the people. My name is Laura Martin. I'm the executive director of the Progressive Leadership Alliance of Nevada and Plan Action. And today is a very special episode because we have a bunch of really amazing guests. We have Bethany Kahn with the Culinary Union, Attar Hasibullah with the ACLU of Nevada, and Lindsay, who's going to go first because she's the best, because she's a Capricorn, with Planned Parenthood. So what we're going to do is kind of talk about how we've had a very busy week. It's a week that has lasted a month. It started, it's Black History Month. We've had Transit Equity Day. We had the Grammys. We had Culinary winning their contracts. Of course, Culinary always wins. We also had some elections where groups like the ACLU of Nevada provided election protection with state voices and let Nevadans vote. And then, of course, Planned Parenthood and abortion rights in Nevada continues to win as we are ready to collect some signatures. And we talked about that at Planned Parenthood celebration in Las Vegas a few days ago. And so we are going to get into all of that. This is going to be a really fun show. And bring it up first is Lindsay with Planned Parenthood, who I know is ready.
Yeah.
I'm lucky I don't have to do all the behind the scenes stuff. I know.
I wish I had balloons or some sort of props here, but I don't. I don't even know a whole lot about football. So
yeah. Oh, I like your background too. Very nice.
Yeah, the wallpaper.
How's your weather? I know it was like hectic snowing.
It's actually stopped, but I hear it's back for the weekend, which is par for the course in here in Reno,
Cool. So why don't you introduce yourself? How people want people to know you?
Sure. So I think for the purposes of today, I am, my name is Lindsay Harmon. I am the president for Nevadans for Reproductive Freedom, which is the effort in the ballot committee right now to enshrine abortion access in the state constitution.
Cool. So we want to enshrine abortion rights in the Nevada state constitution. So was that on our ballots this go around? This week we had an election on Tuesday. We had a caucus on Thursday. Or when are people going to be able to vote for that?
So it will actually be in November during the general election. And the really exciting thing I think about this is that we have been working on this since 2018 when I kind of first came on in this role. And it's, I think there's a lot of attention being paid to this issue now that Dobbs has happened, but really this has been a long haul. And so, and a true labor of love. So we're just really excited, but yeah, November, this coming election is when people will be able to vote on this. And then they'll get a second chance to vote on it again in 2026, because this is a petition initiative in the state of Nevada and a constitutional amendment. So this is a long project that we're getting ready for.
So what do you say, Lindsay, to the people who say oh, this is a waste of resources because in the 90s we changed Nevada law and no one can change it back? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, I think, since the Dobbs decision, I think no one should take anything for granted, especially as it relates to abortion access. And considering the cases that are going to be before the Supreme Court in the coming months. We're looking at a case right now where the Supreme Court could undermine the entire Federal Drug Administration and, say that mifepristone needs to be pulled from the shelves, which is, as for those of you that don't know, mifepristone is the first pill in the abortion medication routine, I guess is the word for it. I'm not a medical doctor, but and so I think we can't take anything for granted. And so, I think we need to move as fast as we can to enshrine these rights in the Constitution, if not just to prove to on the national stage that abortion access is broadly popular, and that that this is what hopefully will cost the Republicans the election in November 2024. Is this kind of their stance on abortion access.
Well, can you talk to us a little bit about the court victory that you had involving this ballot initiative and what that means? And, and then of course, now what's more important, we're going to start collecting signatures. So also talk about what's next now that you've won.
Yeah. So we finally cleared the first legal challenge for our second version of the language. So it has now made its way out of district court while we still have a pending Supreme Court case on the first version. So, and, just because of timelines and things, we're starting to gather signatures on version 2, which is the more narrower language that is specific to abortion access. So if you've been following this for a while, that is kind of the difference in the two languages. But we still believe in version 1 deeply in our hearts that prenatal care is related to miscarriage management. They're all a single subject. But outside of that, we are moving forward with version 2. We will begin gathering signatures. We're having a big kickoff on the 24th in Las Vegas for folks who, details TBD, but we're really excited. We know that we're going to have a ton of volunteers that are going to come out for this. And so we're signing folks up. We're going to get people motivated around the issue and get folks out on talking to their neighbors about it. We need to collect 102,000 signatures spread across 4 congressional districts, which is no easy feat. And so we are really enlisting the help of everyone. And because of, signature verification and all of the processes that have to happen in state, we'll actually be gathering about 200,000 signatures across those 4 congressional districts.
No small feat at all. We have our business cut out for us. Is there a way, as we start wrapping this up, if somebody's listening right now and is saying, I'm going to sign that, or I'm going to start knocking doors to get my neighbors to sign it, how do they get involved in the campaign?
Yeah, so they'll go to our website, which is www. That's how old I am, Laura. I still do the wwws. NV4 reprofreedom.org. And there's a volunteer sign up there, and then we'll be contacting you to let you know how to get plugged into the campaigns. We are going to have entire volunteer days that are dedicated to just volunteers and volunteer sites at major kind of events, like the local Super Bowl, because we the parade. So maybe we'll be at the parade, who knows? But that's where we're going to start gathering signatures. And so, I'm super excited to sign. I'm going to get all my friends and neighbors to sign. And I'm hoping that I am going to be the individual on the volunteer side that collects the most signatures. So a challenge to everyone else.
I love it. Well, speaking of, our last question is, who's going to win the Super Bowl, Lindsay?
I don't follow football. I always go with my heart on these kinds of things. So I'll give it to the Chiefs because I eternally hate the 49ers for what they did to Colin Kaepernick. So
I like your thinking.
Yeah,
very strategic.
I'm just standing on my laurels on that one. So Taylor, I'm a Swiftie all the way, apparently.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining. I know it's been a busy, busy week, and you taking the time Friday as we go into the weekend is really appreciative. And we're excited. We're ready to help collect those signatures, and we're ready to win. Regardless of who the president is, we're going to protect abortion in Nevada.
Yeah, love it. And yeah, we're excited to have y'all. So come on out.
Thank you.
Bye, Laura.
Bye. Awesome. Well, that was a good chat. That makes me excited about the election. As we like to say, go down on your ballot. Start with the ballot initiatives. You're not too excited about all the candidates. You don't have to be. This is Las Vegas. We like buffets. You can choose what you want and go with that. But you should vote in every election. So our next friend that's coming is Attar. He is the executive director of the ACLU of Nevada. Attar is everywhere. I saw you on some NFL panels. I see you everywhere, Attar. We got to follow your social media to keep up with you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. So I would love to hear your thoughts. You're deep in the election protection world. How did we do with the primary and the caucus? Were there a lot of complaints, any mishaps, any power outages? How did it go?
Generally fine. For those that don't know, alongside our partners at Silver State Voices, We kind of oversee the state's largest nonpartisan election protection program. So we cover rural counties, we cover Clark and Washoe. Obviously, for the presidential preference primary, uh, the turnout wasn't what it will be come the Nevada primary in June or the general next November. But we did see some issues that are cause for concern. Our friends in Nye County are back up to their old unusual antics, so I'm sure that'll be dealt with in the months ahead as we did last election. We did get several complaints from Republican voters who were confused about why Donald Trump was not on the ballot. So that question continues to repeat itself, despite the Secretary of State and everybody else sharing the information as to why that was the case. So, for the most part, I would say the EP process went over pretty smoothly. We weren't expecting a ton. Some of the new laws that were put into place this past legislative session were on display this time around, which is good to see, including provisions with respect to signage as it pertains to electioneering, the right of observers to be able to engage in recordation, things of that nature, a little bit more freely because that wasn't codified in the same way before. So overall, it went pretty smoothly.
That's good. That's good to hear. And it's not easy work. So we know that because you all have trained our staff, you all also went up to Reno, taking flights and long drives all around the state. Because regardless of who it is and who they're voting for, we want to protect people's access to the ballot and right to vote. I wonder if you could explain a little bit. You mentioned Nye County, they wanted to hand count ballots. For people who may not be too familiar with the legal lawsuits, I guess you want to call it, what is the problem with doing that with hand counting ballots?
Well, look, I guess it depends in part on how you view democracy, but the hand counting of ballots that we observe, there's provisions under Nevada law that only allow for hand counting in certain circumstances and the use of paper ballots and certain specific circumstances. There's nothing to necessarily preclude it, but election results aren't to be shared in advance of election day. So we got an order from the Nevada Supreme Court after we ended up suing Nye County 4 times in a 4-week span last election. I'm imagining there'll be more stuff this go around on other issues. But because of that, there's a risk of serious delay. Moreover, there's a serious risk of inaccuracy. A reporter from the AP who observed the first few hours of hand counting in Nye said it took them about 3.5 hours to count a few dozen ballots. So it's not a normal process. When I went and I showed up to observe, and we were removed from standing there as observers by partisan infiltrators. The Nye County GOP vice chair, I believe, had one of our observers removed, and we were under the impression she was county staff, and she wasn't. She was basically deputized by the clerk there to do as she wanted and roam the facility. But they were unable to count in basic manners. Example is like they were going through and trying to read aloud each ballot and couldn't pronounce Cisco's last name correctly, right? And so they struggled, and then they had to start over again. And so it was kind of to describe it as a joke would be an insult to jokes. It was hoaxy, and it just fed right into election denialism. The other thing that's problematic there is that there becomes serious ballot security issues, and we raised this with the U.S. Attorney's Office last election. Ballots that were cast on site, paper ballots that were cast on site, because they also switched to paper ballots, which in and of itself is again goofy. But they ballots that were cast on site were secured one way in a secure storage bin. And one of our observers observed that a separate box that was for those that came to drop off their ballots were actually put in what appeared to be a duffel bag, right? So there's actual concern about tampering and ballot security as well.
Wow, it almost feels like every accusation people on the right make ends up being a confession. It seems like. But
It,
Atar, we know there's.
as
Oh,
they
sorry.
say,
Go ahead.
a hit dog will holler. So
Yes. So, Atar, we know there's an election in June and there's also election in November. And so there's a lot more elections to be protected. Maybe that can be your new t-shirt. So how can people help you out? Like, how can people get involved? Poll watchers, election protection, what do they need to do?
There's really two pathways, right? So the way that our configuration and alignment works with Silver State Voices is that for legal professionals, whether you're a paralegal or legal secretary or lawyer, we generally will kind of monitor those folks and provide training for them because the tasks might be different. For non-legal professionals, the role is equally critical because we need those types of observers on the ground. So they can reach out to us via Silver State Voices platform or just by contacting us through our website at aclunv.org, and we can connect them with Silver State Voices. The other thing that's really important is for people, if they have the ability to do so and have the ability to take time off or their employer allows that flexibility, to become poll workers themselves. There is a real vested interest in doing that. That demographic of poll workers continues to get older. And it's not a job a lot of folks are clamoring for, especially in an era of uh, abuse towards those individuals by election deniers and election denialism running rampant nationwide. So if they sign up to be poll workers and reach out to the Secretary of State's office or their local county clerk's office, they can really make a difference. And oftentimes that ends up being the biggest and best way that we can help protect democracy as a whole.
Definitely. And speaking of democracy, Atar, who is going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday?
So I am not a Swiftie. I am tired of seeing Taylor Swift in every photo. I don't believe it's part of some conspiracy against her, and um, I'm not even sure how that portion started. But I'm sick of seeing it, and I really just wanted to see like 90% of America, the Lions and the Ravens in there. Now, because my timeline is flooded incessantly with Taylor Swift pictures and Travis Kelce pictures, I'm going to be going ahead to root for the Niners. But go Raiders.
Yes, I feel that on a spiritual level. Thank you, Atar, very much. Thank you for taking time. I know you especially are very busy as well. So we look forward to seeing you very soon out there in the field.
Appreciate you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. All right. So we are going to roll right into a really exciting conversation with Bethany Kahn, who is, I feel like the title doesn't do her justice for what she accomplishes every single day at the Culinary Union. She's comms, she's strategy, she is reminding people their place. Her press releases aren't too long. They're not too much. Maybe you're not enough. Just kidding. So, Bethany, welcome.
Good morning, Laura. Hi.
Hi. How's it going over there in East Las Vegas today?
Good. I feel good. I got to sleep in. I washed my hair today, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Love it. Love it. So why don't you introduce yourself? How would you describe your profession? I know I just made up a title for you.
No, it's yeah. So, my name's Bethany Kahn, and I'm the spokeswoman of the Culinary Union, but I'm also the director of communications and digital strategy. I've been working at the union for 12 years, and I'm proudly the first generation daughter of immigrants from Guyana. So, I like to say that I'm a proud anchor baby. I was born in the United States when my parents were undocumented, and so when Congress passed amnesty in 1986, my mom got to come through the process that way. And I'd like to say that part of the Republican immigration plan is that they would like to make birthright citizenship illegal. So like for someone like me, and which is just really terrifying, and we can't let that happen.
Yeah, it's like the only good thing Ronald Reagan did other than die is pass amnesty. So thank you, Ronald Reagan, for that. So first things first, Bethany, you represent an organization that probably has the most members of any other organization. So I know you all were probably involved having voters who both voted in the primary and possibly participated in the caucus. What are Culinary's thoughts on this presidential nominating process? How do you feel it's going to take us into this full election campaign year?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all in for Biden-Harris administration, right? Like they have helped us get through the pandemic. They made sure that culinary members had healthcare, food assistance, protection to move mortgage payments to the back of the loan. Like during the pandemic, culinary members really felt the support of the administration. And we also felt the support from president and vice president during our last contract fight. So we almost went on strike here in Las Vegas. We were able to extract almost $3 billion in terms of wage increases and benefits from these corporations. And every step of the way, the president and the vice president either came to the union, came to the employee dining room, like came to support members. And it's pretty incredible what we've been able to win. I think every worker is going to get a 10% wage increase, total of 32% in 5 years. And by the end of our 5-year contract, culinary members will be earning about $37 an hour. And so it's an incredible victory. It's been 10 months of a campaign, but really it's been over 2 years of organizing every day, worker-led organizing, just like sleepless nights back to back. And so taking that energy into the primary and the general, usually culinary runs the largest field program during a general. In 2022, we knocked on 1 million doors, talked to over half of the Black and Latino voters and over a third of AAPI voters in Nevada. And so we'll do something similar.
Light work. So I wonder too, like obviously we want, strong contracts, good benefits, but is there anything else your workers are looking to hear from candidates as they go deeper into presenting their policies? And that, I guess that also includes not just president, but everything down to school board, legislature, running for and Congress.
Yeah, so workers want to see what the plan to win is and how are you going to deliver for workers? The economy is doing great. How are we going to make sure that prices continue to come down, and how we can make sure that corporations are held accountable? And we do see the Biden-Harris administration doing that with reining in junk fees, talking about housing, because the economy is doing great, but workers need to make sure that we're part of that comeback. And so really putting this at the feet of big pharma, grocery, oil, housing, right? Like these are corporations that are price gouging, and especially here in Nevada, they are buying up our homes. They're buying up single family homes in Nevada at a record rate, and they're turning those homes and American families into forever renters. And so we need to tackle that. It's part of why we have been running a campaign on neighborhood stability, and we'll keep doing that. And I think workers really want to make sure that their issues are centered and focused, and that we've got a plan to win. And so we'll be out in the streets pretty soon to talk to voters and also hear from them.
So can you tell us all of your secret field plans for this year, or overall, what contribution are culinary workers going to make in this election? Basically, like, what are y'all cooking up for 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to release that in a long press release later. But so right now, I think what I can say is that we've just launched a campaign to organize non-union workers at Allegiant Stadium. Super Bowl is on Sunday, and there's about 1,800 workers at Allegiant Stadium who get paid like $13 to $14 an hour. Many of those workers are on Medicaid, and they work 2 to 3 jobs to make ends meet. And so we sent a letter to 27 different Allegiant service providers those workers work in concessions, cashiering at the stadium. They make that stadium run even when the Raiders aren't there, right? There's all these concerts and events. Nevada taxpayers contributed over $750 million to the construction of Allegiant Stadium, including Laura and I and every single one of our guests. And it was one of the largest taxpayer investments ever made in a stadium project up until that point. And so we want to make sure that workers aren't left behind. And so that's why those workers want to have a union, and they're fighting to be treated with respect and dignity. And the culinary sent a letter to the Raiders telling them to step up and do the right thing and make sure that workers have the right to organize. So we look forward to that campaign. We've launched it this week. We had the NFLPA there. So the NFL players are also in a union, and they support those workers who are organizing. And it was really powerful to see like the NFL players and the concession workers stand together to be like, yep, we want a union, and we support, the workers having a union there. And that's what we're, I think, right now kind of focused on.
Yeah, definitely. One job should be enough, especially when the taxpayers, like you said, provided $750 million to build that stadium. And if Bethany's saying the workers are on Medicaid, the taxpayers are also subsidizing their workers in order to have health care. And we shouldn't be on the hook for both. So that is really, really important. I think the last and most important question is, Bethany, who is going to win the Super Bowl on Sunday?
Well, I don't really follow football, but I do keep as a principle, I always root for anybody black. So if any team has a black quarterback, that's who I'm rooting for. So I believe it's the Chiefs, I want to say. So
Yes, Patrick Mahomes.
yes, that's
But
what
he's mixed, so we can just root for him in the first half, and then we'll root for the other team.
yeah,
Yes,
that's
the
the
biracial king. But thank you so much, Bethany. I know that you have been extremely busy. I know you said 2 years, but really, you really continue to build off of almost a century of incredible people-led organizing. And you have built just an incredible organization that has the clout to win, and you're always winning. And so thank you for taking the time. I know that you're very busy, but we couldn't think of anyone better to talk to than you about how we're going to win in 2024.
Thanks, Laura. Thank you for your leadership. Culinary and Plan, right, are long partners, and we really just so value and respect Laura and your leadership and Plan's role in the community. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you all for tuning in to What's the Tea? It's the Caucus Hangover version. And we're going into the Super Bowl. Who am I rooting for? I love the Denver Broncos. I hate the Raiders. The Kansas City Chiefs, I'm supposed to also not like them. And then the 49ers coach is the son of the Denver Broncos coach who led them to 2 Super Bowl victories with John Elway. So I think I'm going to be rooting for Usher. So, so I hope that settles it. Thank you all for tuning into What's the Tea, and we will see you next time.